that's what I'm going to do today is I'm going to break this process down of how we have conversations with people to get them onto a call. So I always like to use real world examples. Now, I remember when I first joined multifamily investing group and I had all this information. I still didn't know how to go out and actually talk to people. And it was kind of an awkward approach where it's, people say, what do you do? And then you have to get comfortable saying, oh, I'm a multifamily investor. And then they kind of look at you like, huh, okay. And then you have to learn how to reframe it where, oh, well, I help people, with X and, accomplish Y within a certain amount of time frame or without any issues. Um, but still it's, you're trying to get those conversations started, but time and time and time again, and this is, I was having this conversation earlier with someone inside my coaching community, and they were saying, oh, do I email this person? Do I show up and have the conversation? And so we were very much in this stage of like, well, what do I say? That was a question. It's like, well, what do I say to this person? And literally, this is the framework that we use. So I just remember like having so many awkward conversations of, hey, Joe, you want to listen to me talk about apartment investing? I got something I want to show you. And when you start doing that, it gets a little awkward. And you want to try to avoid that. So I'm going to walk you through specifically the 4 steps that I use, and these are for all of my conversations. I'm going to put it in the context of direct messaging using LinkedIn or Instagram or WhatsApp, whatever it is. Again, though, the concept remains the same, whether it's someone that you just met on the street, whether you're having a phone call, whether you're at a networking event. These are the steps that make the conversation feel way more natural. So I'm going to go through this. I'm going to show you the framework. Then what I'm going to do is I have a PDF that walks through an example of like a DM conversation, something similar to what I've had on LinkedIn. Then I also have a AI agent, a custom GPT that has all of this information trained in it. And I'm going to use a real conversation from LinkedIn and I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste it into this AI agent and I'm going to show you what it does. And so this will be a nice tool in your toolbox to kind of be like, hey, this is where I'm at in the conversation. Can you help me out? And eventually, once you have enough conversations, you just know in your head where you're at and you know what the next thing is to say and how to move someone forward. So those are all the things we're going to cover today. So if you stick around to the end, I will show you all of that. And we will make sure that we have the PDF available for you. And you'll see in that PDF document, there's a link to that custom AI agent, that custom GPT. So we're going to give all of that to you. Just stick around to the end and let's get started. All right, step number 1 here. Here's what we have to do. When you are approaching a potential investor, so again, we're assuming that you've already qualified who your ideal investor is. You already understand, like we talked about in last week's webinar, where they're at and in their journey. So you're not just casting this really wide net, like, hey, anybody with money is qualified, but now you're trying to like have this conversation. So when you are starting this conversation, you have to apply some principles. And this is what I like to quote Stephen Covey in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And that is seek first to understand, then to be understood. Okay. When you start approaching your conversations that way, somebody gets the opportunity to feel like you've heard them, like you've listened to them, and they're way more open to listening to you. If you just start like, hey, let me just shove all the stuff at you, people are going to shut down. So this also goes back to 2 webinars ago when I was using my text message strategy. Okay. And I said, hey, we get onto the phone call. And what do we do in the phone call? Okay. Same rules apply here. I'm just breaking it down a little bit different. So first thing we do is we got to understand their current situation. So I might say something along the lines of, hey, have you ever invested outside of the stock market? This is a really good breadcrumb for me. Like, what is their level of comfort getting out of the stock market? Tell me a little bit more about those types of investments. Okay. I need to understand what is their level of risk, what is their level of education, are they open to the idea or not? And then I like to ask them, have you heard of or invested in a syndication before? And that's important. So I was on a call before this where we were chatting with a potential investor, and they have some real estate background. They've done another deal before as an LP, and so it was a different set of questions. Have they invested in syndication? At this point, now that like the person I was talking to earlier, they have, so we can dive a little bit deeper. We were having a conversation about IRR. We were having a conversation about cash flow, right? They're a little bit more sophisticated. But if they're brand new, you can't just jump into IRR. You can't just jump into cash flow. You can't jump into equity multiple. You can't do that, okay? So what I like to do when I have these conversations is I need to get a little bit better understanding of where they are. Why are they even here? Why are they taking the time to talk to me? Tell me a little bit more about you. What is your current situation? Okay. Then, once they've shared some of that information with me, then, okay, now I understand where they're at. So maybe, I got a few $100,000 in my 401k. I'm maxing out my 401k contribution. I've got a little bit extra money, which is nice, but I think I've been able to put enough money in my savings account. I'm kind of to this point where like, what do I do with this extra money? All right. I've never invested outside of the stock market before, and I'm considering it. I just don't know. I'm looking for someone who does know, and someone that I can trust. Have you ever heard of a syndication before? I have no idea what that is. Okay. Now I clearly understand where this person is. Is if I don't take the time to ask those questions, I can't frame up the rest of the conversation. Is that making sense? Okay. I have to understand where this person is at before I can pitch them anything. Otherwise, I'm trying to sell them a minivan and they're single. Like, what do they need a minivan for? Like, or I'm trying to sell them a Ferrari, but they've got a family of eight. Like I got to have the alignment there. So I got to understand where they're at. The next thing that I do when I'm asking questions to learn more about them is I say, hey, now do me a favor. I need to understand a little bit more about what are your goals? Like, where are you trying to get? So I understand better about, where you are now. Talk to me about your goals. Okay. What are some of your long-term goals here? What are some of your strategies? Now they will start to share with me a little bit more about their pain points. So remember we were talking about the investor journey last week, and we're like, well, are they even aware? Do they know they have a problem? Are they looking for solutions? Are they solution aware? Remember we are having that? Okay. So this helps me understand, like, do they even know that they have a problem? Okay. And now I also am asking, like, where are you at in your level of awareness? Like, how big is this pain, or do you even know you have pain? So I literally am taking the concept we had last week where we were like understanding where people were, and I'm straight up just asking them. I'm not asking them like, "Hey, where are you at in your journey?" But I'm asking them the question so I can understand them better. So now what I'm doing is I'm saying, "Okay, cool. So you told me a little bit about where you're at. You told me, a little bit about some of your current investments, and I understand that. But like, why are we having this conversation? Are you frustrated with something? Do you have some concerns? So I just like to ask them, like, what are some of your frustrations with those investments? Now, they may tell me, I'm not really frustrated with it. I just want to diversify. Okay, cool. That helps me out. So then, what are you hoping to get from these additional investments that you don't feel you're getting now? And they'll tell me, I'd like to put my money into a more stable asset. I would like to maybe get a little bit more cash flow. It'd be great. What if my investments I could pay a little bit less taxes on? So I am learning more about what some of their goals are. And then ultimately tell me what an ideal investment would look like for you. I want to know, I want them to like paint this picture for me of, what, in a perfect world, this is what my investment would look like. Again, I'm taking the time to listen, and I'm trying to understand where are they at in terms of their level of awareness and their level of like frustration. when it comes to making some other type of investment. Okay. So again, this is a universal concept. It doesn't matter if you're having a direct message conversation. Okay. Some of these questions I'm framing up, they're a little bit more, a little too personal probably for DM, but if you're having a one-on-one conversation, but if you're having a networking conversation or you're having a Zoom conversation, it doesn't really matter. The concept is universal. You're trying to get someone, to move forward. So you understand where they're at. That's step number one. Number two is tell me a little bit more about your goals. And then number three here is, whoops. Anybody want to take a guess? What number three is? If we know where they're at, we know where they're trying to get. What do we think would be number three? I want to see. Some of you have been in these conversations before, and if you know, I would love to see the answer. If you're new, that's okay. Call to action. You're almost there, George. You are close. You're like one step ahead. It is not call to action. Not yet. We're not quite ready for the call to action. We need to understand first a little bit more about them. We need to understand the obstacles. Okay, cool. So now I have a better understanding of where you're at, you know, and I also know where you would like to go. So if I have a map and I know where I'm at, I know where I want to go, why don't you just go? Like, why aren't you just doing that? This is a very powerful tool in the conversation. What this is also doing is it's also helping you start to understand what some of their objections may be. And if you understand that, then you can start to pre-frame that in the rest of your conversation. Okay. So you told me that you're making good money. You told me that things are going good in your 401k. You told me that you basically maxed it out. You got some extra cash, don't want any more money, don't want to just keep shoving money into your savings account, don't want another job doing real estate, not interested in that. Okay. So what are some of your frustrations? Not tons of frustration. You just really want to diversify. You're at a point where you should be able to do that. Maybe a little bit more hands off and passive. You don't want another job. Ultimately, my investments, they would just make pay a little bit less in taxes and be at least as good as what I'm doing in the stock market, if not better. All right, cool. Why don't you just do it then? I'm not saying you're blunt like that. You just say, all right, I understand. Okay. So if you are over here and you want to get here, like what have you tried? Like what have you started thinking about to get here? That's a different way to ask the question. Okay. So we'll say, what are some of the reasons you feel like you just haven't gotten here? Or what are some of the reasons you haven't invested in apartments or real estate or, whatever it is? When you ask these questions, you have just set them up. They've got to talk a whole lot. You just ask them questions, and then they're going to tell you exactly what the pain point is. And now you're set up. Okay. So if we understand that, if you think about the investor avatar and their journey, you literally have just like walked them through to the journey. So you're like, okay, guess what? I can make you solution aware right now. And the at this point, they're primed and ready. They're like, cool, now I'm ready for a solution. So now, George, you are correct. At this point, I understand where they're at currently, what their goals are, and I'm starting to understand why aren't they just doing it? They don't know how the hell to do it. That's like that is it right there. So think of it this way. In my corporate career, every time I got a pay raise, every time I changed jobs, I got more money. But you know what I didn't get? I did not get any financial advice that came along with it. So nobody gets a pay raise and then they say, hey, with this pay raise, you have a mandatory 8 hours of financial planning that you have to do. It doesn't happen. Okay. So people want to grow financially and in their careers. But just because they become successful and they make lots of money doesn't mean they have answers. Okay. It means that they're very good at what they do, but it doesn't mean that they know all the rest of the stuff. Okay. Like all these other things can be complicated. So now this is the point where what we do is step 4, and we say, well, okay, now that I understand where you're at and where you're wanting to go and what your obstacles are, what if I could help you come up with a solution to that? Would you be interested in learning a little bit more? If I could help you get here and remove these obstacles, would you like to learn a little bit more? What do you think they're going to say? They're going to say, yeah, I think that would be awesome. Okay. Um, I would be very open to that. Do you guys see how if you have a conversation like that, you are putting yourself in the position much more as a trusted advisor and helping someone rather than selling them anything? At this point, you have not said I have something that I want to sell you. I have something that I think you can't start the conversation. I have something to be a good fit because you don't know. I can't like I have had these conversations several times where I hop on a call with someone, potential investor, and I get to the end of the call and what they've told me is I know they are just not in a position to invest in apartments, whether that's they don't have the money, they can't afford the risk, or maybe they're like a business owner and they make so much money doing other things that it's not a good fit for them. And I'm totally fine saying, you know what? Thank you for sharing that with me. I'm going to be real honest. I'm happy to share with you what this looks like, but I don't know if it's the right fit for you. But if you're interested, we can have that conversation. Okay. Is that making sense? If we do that, can I see in the chat? Just give me a yes. You're like, yeah, this makes a whole lot of sense. Or if you still have questions, put that in the chat too. But the idea here is that we do not approach anybody and say, hey, I got something that you need to pay attention to. We are having a conversation with somebody and really understanding it. So, another way to think about it is when you go to the doctor, their job is to ask you questions and then give you a diagnosis. Okay. So your job here is you're asking questions. Okay. When did this start happening? When did you first start notice this? Okay. Um, and then at the end of it, the doctor says, all right, here's your prescription. Here's what you need to do. And that's what this is right here. Okay. So this is where you come in and start providing your solution. Okay. So that is your 4-step framework. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift over because a lot of people are big into, the social media aspect and doing the direct messaging thing. And that was an area where I really struggled. Like, how do I do this? Like, how do I do this direct message where I hop in maybe to a group or I'm doing outreach and actually get somebody onto a call? Because a lot of times, if you're like me, you've got an account like me, people show up on LinkedIn and they're just like, bam, like, hey, I saw you do this. I have a solution for you. We help people with ABC accomplish XYZ, and we think you'd be a good fit. And I'm like, I don't even know you. Like, we never had a conversation. Like, how do you know it's the right solution? And I don't reply to any of those. I just like delete them. Okay. I don't accept any of those requests. But what I'm going to show you is a little bit different way to do that. Okay. How can you take this and apply it to maybe a direct message conversation? You're joining groups, and this applies in uh, multiple online environments where you just are chatting with people. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what I call the social media prospecting messenger script, and this works. There is this can be a lot of work. This is something that you can do yourself. You can hire somebody to help you do this. But it works very well. If you frame it up the right way, it works very well. Okay. So let me just walk you through this. And like I said, this is going to be a resource we're going to make available to everyone that you can print out. And it's also going to have a link to the AI agent, the custom GPT. So now I already gave you the example, right? This is what happens to me. I'm sure it happens to you, and I'll get someone reach out and they say, hey, Steven, my name's Mark. I'm with, fill in the blank company. We help accredited investors add direct cash flow to their portfolios as a strong inflation hedge. Here's a link to my calendar. Please schedule some time with me before my calendar is full. I changed the name here for anonymity purposes, but like this is almost verbatim a message I got. So they don't know me. They don't know anything about me. I'm not gonna reply to this. Okay. Like I said, I don't really know this person at all. Like, how do they know the solution is gonna work for me? So I'm going to give you a really off the wall example, but I want you to like visualize this. Okay. So to me, that's like walking up to a complete stranger on the street and saying, "Hey, my name's Steven. I happen to notice you're wearing some shoes, and I sell socks. And I have the perfect socks for you. In fact, I got some right here. Would you like to buy some right now?" Now, I'm a pretty nice guy. Maybe somebody would buy some socks for me, but I think most people would be like, "What? Like, why did you just walk up to me and ask me that question? Like, that is weird." Okay. Now, that is a off the wall example, but I need you to realize it. Like when we are out there on social media, social rules still apply. And if you are like those people that are just blasting those weird messages or these like direct messages, you're probably not going to get a lot of traction. So if that's you, I'm going to say stop and I'm going to show you a different way to do it using that four-step framework. So, the first thing we're going to do is we are going to start with some small chat. Okay. We are just going to have some chit chat and we're just going to try to understand where they're at in their journey. Okay. And it literally is you're just having a conversation. So imagine yourself at a networking event. You walk up to someone or some group of people and you just don't start like, "Hey, here's my business card, like give me a call." No, you don't do that in a social setting. Okay. So what you try to do is start with some conversation. "Hey, how's it going? Why are you here? Where are you from?" Like, okay, real conversation. So I'm going to give you an example. Um, let's say I join some group in Facebook or LinkedIn. "Hey, Sarah, I noticed your post for posting the investing for the future group. I saw you're interested in ways to diversify outside of the stock market. How long have you been in the group for?" Pretty non-confrontational, right? "Hey, Steven, thanks for reaching out. I've been thinking about it for a few months now. I'd love to have something a bit more stable for the long term. How about you?" As you can see, like we're just starting to have a conversation. Okay. I totally understand. I got into alternative investments years ago for the same reason. It's been quite a journey. Have you had any particular investments catch your eye? Okay. I am just having a conversation. I'm not pitching anything. This works, guys. Like you will have to go back and forth, but have a real conversation. Okay. The next thing we need to do is I need to understand their goals and obstacles. Okay. So I had a little bit of small chat. Okay. This is a DM, right? So you don't go nearly as deep, but you got to understand their goals and obstacles. Okay. What I do now, right? She replies back and tells me what's been hard for her. Now that I know what her pain points are, I can say something like, "Hey, sounds like you've done some great research. What's been the hardest part in finding the right investment for you so far?" So I am now getting to that, like, what are your obstacles part? I'm leveraging the exact same framework. I'm like, what are your obstacles? Honestly, it's just the risk. I want my money to grow, but I don't want to be super hands-on. I've looked at some options, but I don't feel like I know enough to feel secure. I've learned a lot at this point. Then I might say something like, "Well, that makes a lot of sense. So passive investing is ideal for people like us who want to grow wealth without the day-to-day hassle. Have you explored real estate or specifically apartments?" Okay. I am just naturally moving the conversation, but I'm doing it. If you'll notice here, here's a question. Here's a question. I'm just asking questions, but more specifically, they're open-ended questions. Okay. I'm not asking binary yes or no questions. I'm asking yes or I'm asking for this person to give me a little bit more details. When you do that, it becomes more of a real conversation. It's less transactional and more like you're getting to know this person because people invest in the relationship. Like that's really what it boils down to is so you have to think of like your DM is less as transactional and more as I'm gonna start a relation. I'm gonna start building this relationship with this person. Okay. So now we move on to the next part because we've already got A, B, and C, or steps one, two, and three. So we're going to move on to acknowledging the gap and asking permission to share. Okay, so now we're moving on to the next part. And I say, hey, I can relate to that feeling of uncertainty when feeling uncertain when I started. I felt the same way until I discovered apartment syndications. After a lot of guidance, I realized how powerful passive investing could be. It's allowed me to achieve stable returns without sacrificing my time. If you're interested, I'd be happy to share with you what I've learned. Okay. That is far from salesy if you ask me. And if you do it right, you're getting the same outcome. You're just having a real conversation. So then she's like, yeah, that would be great. Sounds like you've had some real success. All right. And at that point, that's all we do. Okay. Now we state what you're an expert at and offer permission to meet for a one-on-one. Okay. So, and guess what? When you get on that one-on-one phone call, what are you going to do? You're going to follow that exact same four-step framework. You're just now on the phone call, you can dive a little bit deeper. You've got 45 minutes to an hour to have this conversation, but you follow the exact same framework. In the DMs, I'm just trying to get someone into a phone call. When I get them on the phone call, I follow the same framework. I just get to dive a little bit deeper. So at this point, what I'm doing is I say, she's interested. I say, hey, I primarily work with busy professionals who want to diversify outside of the stock market, grow their wealth passively. I specialize in helping people invest in apartment deals without having to manage them. It's all about steady returns, tax benefits, and hands-free income growth. If you'd like, we can set up a call to discuss how apartment investing might work for you and what it looks like as a passive investor. How does that sound? Okay. Again, I'm asking permission here. I'm not being salesy. She says, great. And I'm going to walk you through this. Okay. So there's a couple of different ways to do this. So here's one way. I typically only have a few openings each month to talk. I can walk you through some past examples, share some potential returns, and answer any questions you have. I have availability this Wednesday or Friday at 11 a.m. or 2 p.m. Would either of those times work for you? Okay. So this is option number one. And I've talked about this before. Um, in a perfect world, you would actually have some type of calendar that you can share that you're going to give to them, and they will book in a time that works for them and you because you have your availability in there. And when you do that, you get their first name, their last name, and you're going to get their phone number and their email address added into your investor database. That is a very powerful tool because now all of a sudden you can start nurturing them. Like once you've got them in the door, that is an opportunity to actually start your nurturing process. Now, if you don't have that set up, then I like this strategy, which is not, hey, send me some times that work for you. What I've learned through a lot of trial and error is you send them, I'm going to send you two times and just pick one. This makes sense to be a little bit more binary. Most of the time they'll pick one, or if they don't have a time, then you say, well, send me a couple of times. And you will almost always get it figured out there. But if you leave it too open-ended, they then will generally get lost. I don't know why it is that way, but they will be like, okay, I'll get back to you. This is just let me go check my calendar really quick. Okay. And that's it. From there, we move them on over to our one-on-one call. We dive deeper. We run through that pitch deck process, and we go and capture their warm commitment. Okay. So, can you go and find leads on LinkedIn and Instagram or these other networking groups that are online? Absolutely, you can. How do you move them from someone you've just met to getting them onto some type of a call? You just follow a framework like this. Here's a really good, clean example. Is that helpful, guys? Is he giving you some direction, some clarity? Okay. So, here's what we got. Moving on to the next steps. We already have, like, I have this recorded. So, um, in here, you can always go back and refer to this video. We've got that available. But what I want to show you here is, let's say that you're like, Steven, this is really cool. However, I need a little bit of guidance and I don't have you on auto dial to call you up really quick and ask you, what should I say next? Here's what I did is I trained a AI agent, a custom GPT that's going to help you out. So let me bring this up really quick. So this is an appointment setting agent. Okay, this is going to help you book your calls. And what I like to do is my team and I actually use this. So I'm going to take this conversation. I think I can get the whole thing in there really easy. All right. So here is a conversation I had with someone on LinkedIn. And all I'm going to do, it's as simple as this. This is how easy I made it for you. You don't have to do any special prompting here. You're going to take this conversation. You're going to go like this. Hey, I'm chatting with this person on LinkedIn. LinkedIn. Okay, got it spelled right. And I just spelled person right. Um, can you help me figure out how to reply? Okay. Like honestly, just do this super easy. We have these prompts here for you. Analyze the conversation. What should I say next? Summarize it. How do I turn this into a book call? These are just little prompts. But can you help me figure out how to reply? So you're going to do this. You're going to send it through here. And here's what this agent does for you. Remember how I showed you point A, point B, point C, and get them onto a call? This actually has been tuned and trained to analyze that. Have you asked these questions? Have you got answers to this step? So it says, where are they now? So you connected, built rapport around your shared background, got him talking about his current role in the industry. He's also shared his retirement timeline and possibly interest in consulting later on. Boom, I got it. It also says he wants stability for the next 6.5 years, retirement afterwards, and potentially consulting work. That tells you he's thinking about long-term income security beyond his W-2. But I have not done this yet. You haven't uncovered whether he feels financially prepared for retirement, if he has concerns about relying on sending for the long term, or whether he's explored passive income options yet. So it's going to tell you you need to transition, how to guide the conversation, and here's a reply. And it's going to give you a suggested reply. And you can just keep going back and forth. So all these conversations that you're having, if you're unsure of what to say, this is actually going to write it up for you. Okay. Now, you can copy and paste this, or you can change a little bit. Like here's a response that says, nice, that's a solid plan. A lot of people I talk to in healthcare are thinking about similar things right now, especially with all the volatility in the industry. Have you mostly been focused on traditional retirement route, or have you looked into other ways of creating income after you step away from your corporate world? Okay. That's a pretty good question right here. Okay. It is helping me move forward. So that is the tool I have available for y'all. Okay. So what we're gonna do, like we do every time, is we will post in the school community um, with this replay, and we'll give you guys the PDF, which will also include the link for this AI agent. Okay. So just real quick, by a show of hands, because we can probably get a head start on this. I'm looking at the attendees. Who would be interested in receiving that PDF with access to the AI agent? So if that's you, just put a yes and we'll make a note. And so when we do the post, we can just start reaching out to you. So we got a few people on if you guys are interested in that. Okay, I got a yes from George. Yeah, yes, 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 yes. All right, cool. So you keep those yeses coming in. I'm gonna leave the line open for a little bit longer. And also while you guys are sending in the yeses, like I said, that'll help in because as soon as we post this, we can reach out to you. We can send you a message on where to go and download this. Um, I've also been talking about this 30-day challenge that we're going to do, that we're going to launch. I'm super excited about it. It's a lot of work on my side and my team side, but it's going to be pretty awesome. So, are you guys interested in maybe seeing a little bit of behind the scenes of what the coursework is going to look like in there? And I know you guys are already putting yeses in there, but if you could just put a 30 for yes, you'd like to see a little bit of behind the scenes for the 30-day challenge, I can show you that. George is saying yes, but I think you mean yes to the 30-day challenge. So what I'm going to do is it's still very much in the making right now. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to just show you what's going to be in that course and how we're going to start framing that up. Okay. Whoops. So let me bring this over and I'm going to show you. Okay, so you can't see this right now. You can see this, but you can't see this. But I'm just going to really quickly jump in here. And I'm just going to show you like what it is we're working on and the course material that is there. There's still some more that is going to be done. But so I have a great welcome video that's going to walk you through a whole overview. And within that, we're going to give you a roadmap and a model that's going to show you basically step by step the flow that you need to have. There's also accountability posts that are going to be in there. There's also a 30-day calendar that's going to be in there, as well as a year-long planner. We're going to have all that available for you, and it's going to be really quick and easy for you to get to. It's just going to be a simple link for you to get to. Then what we're going to do is we're going to cover the model. I'm going to go deeper into what the actual model is. So if you have seen my webinars where I talk about this capital raising funnel, that model, I'm going to walk you through that, but I'm going to be more detailed and I'm going to show you like step one, these are some of the tools you use. Step two, these are some of the tools you use. Step three. So I'm going to show you what all those pieces are and how they connect together. Then I'm actually going to, as part of this, what I'm going to give you guys the availability to is a 30-day free trial of the Rage Genius platform. After the end of the 30 days, I've had this question like, what's it going to cost? At the end of the 30 days, if you guys are so interested in keeping the platform, it's just $97 a month. Or if you wanted to upgrade, it's like $81 a month if you pay for the whole year. So what I'm going to do with that, and I suggest you do it because whether it's this platform or a different one, it's still going to show you like how to set everything up. So I'm going to give you a full overview. Then not only am I going to give you access to the system free for 30 days, I'm going to teach you how to quickly get a domain and email set up. So literally what I'm going to do is in there, we are going to have for you um, a couple different websites that are available for you as templates. And I'm going to show you how to get a domain and get your own email set up that's like your branded email and connected into the system. So you will go from your Gmail, whatever that is, bill@gmail.com, to having your own website branded with your own branded email. In under an hour, you will get that set up. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to go customize your website. I'm going to show you how to customize your call booking page. And then the other thing I'm going to help you get set up is an AI booking agent. This AI booking agent is an AI agent that's actually going to live on your website. So when people visit your website and start engaging with it, it has one job, and that is to get people to book a call with you. Okay. So I am going to show you step by step how to set that up. I am also going to show you step by step how to set up your own personal calendar for bookings. I was talking about that earlier, and how to set up the whole meeting so that when someone comes to your website, there is a very clear path for them to get access to your calendar and book a call with you. The other thing that we're going to do in there is help you out is I know there's a lot to this. We are going to include some automations. And I'm not going to teach you just how to like do all the automations, but we have already in there some pre-trained configured automations. So when somebody books a call, what emails or text do they get? When somebody gives you a warm commitment, what emails should they get? That's going to happen automatically. When you get a new person in your database, what emails should be triggered? All that's going to be configured for you. And then at the end, we're going to do some completion and testing. So I've talked to you guys several times about you need to start with like building the bottom of your funnel so you have the process already set up to where when you get someone, where do you send them? And then when you send them to that step, what do you say? Well, all that stuff is going to be built and automated for you. And I'm just going to walk you through that whole process. So there will be trainings in there, but I'm also going to give you a calendar to help help hold you accountable. And we're also going to have conversations about that. So these trainings that we're doing on Wednesdays are going to be very focused on helping you get all that set up. Okay. So that is what we are actively working on, but it is a whole brand new set of training to actually, it's not theory. This is really getting you your very own capital raising system to find new leads, track your leads, nurture your leads, and actually get through the whole warm commitment and give you a very fantastic online presence. Okay. So that is what I'm actively working on. I believe I will keep you updated. I was targeting next Thursday, but it will probably be the Thursday after that where we launch. I think it's like the 28th or something like that. Um, so I will keep you updated. That is what's going on there. Now, as part of that, what I'm actually going to do is if I come back into the classroom, so there's this investor pipeline launch course that's available. Um, this is if I view it as a member right now today, if you just wanted to go get access to it, it's 297, but I've given you guys all the opportunity to upgrade to premium. And if you do this, you come in here and you hit premium, you can actually get access to it for $97 a month. So this is also going to be part of that program as well. So what's in here, if you haven't seen it, is some additional let's help you get unstuck kind of stuff. So let me close this and I'm just going to walk you through because I would say if you want to get a head start on this 30-day challenge, I would come into this and start going through this coursework because what's in here is guess what? We go deeper into the actual warm commitment framework, outreach framework. There's right here, I talk about getting the calls booked. So you start to get to actually see what it's going to look like for you for a call booking page and then pre-framing. I'm also showing you how to run that exact sales call with the script, your very own pitch deck that you use, not when you have a deal, but before you have a deal. This is how you get a warm commitment from someone, objection handling, and you guys know I'm all about it. An AI agent that's going to help coach you through these conversations and give you feedback. Okay. Then how do we take that platform we were building with all of these steps and how do we get that warm commitment from someone? It's all right here. All of the training is here. So that is what the 30-day challenge is going to be is let's build you a system and give you all the steps you need so that you can actually go out and have these conversations and start getting like real commitments. Okay. So there is a lot packed in there, but I know you can get it done in 30 days. And once you have that, you're off to the races. You're in a fantastic spot right there. So, my if you're interested in joining, number one is, I would love to see if you want to like raise your hand or say yes. Anybody who's looking to participate in the 30-day challenge, drop it in the chat right now because we'll take note of that and we'll make sure that we like reach out to you specifically and let you know, hey, this is starting. This is the day. We're going to do a kickoff. Join us for that. So if you're planning on joining that 30-day challenge, like just drop some yeses in the chat so that we can make sure we keep you updated on when that's all going to be coming out. And then for those of you that are interested in getting a head start and actually making some progress, and I've gotten some really good feedback on this training right here. Let's see, I think I saw Justin on there. Justin's in there. Jennifer's in there. I know Isabel's in there. She's not on right now. But just really, really, really positive feedback about what's going on in here. So if you want to get that head start, what you should do next is I would just follow those steps. And there's a QR code. It's just going to take you straight to that page where you pick the $97 a month. And literally, you're going to get a head start in the whole process. Okay. Plus, I'm doing a coaching call this afternoon for the people that are in that group to answer any questions, help them get unstuck when it comes to that. And so the other thing we're going to do is we're going to drop a link in the chat right now for anybody who might be interested in joining getting a head start on that coaching, because that's what's going to be where the 30-day challenge is going to be all about getting everything set up for you and some of the coaching that comes along with it. So we've got that link in the chat right now. So with that, guys, I've shared a ton of information today. My goal is always to have you leave a better, stronger capital raiser. So what questions do you all have for me? I'm going to hang out here for a couple of minutes. What questions do you have for me regarding either the topics we covered today, the 30-day capital raising challenge, or the investor pipeline launch course that's available for y'all today? Let me know in the chat. Where are you guys at? What questions do you have? We got a good group of people on today. Um, I'm gonna call some names here. Cedric, you're good. Damon, are you good, man? You need help with anything? We got David, George. You're on. You're always participating. Appreciate that. Yvonne, Jing, Justin. We just chatted yesterday. It's good to see you. Thanks for coming back. Randall, Scarlett, Vince. Any of you got any questions about what's going on? Okay. Vince, sounds like outreach process is what opens the door. Yes. Interested in 30-day program. Damon, got you, man. So Vince, you need to always be in a position where you know what your next steps are for a person you're chatting with. Okay. So whether that's outreach or someone coming to you. But if you're not doing outreach, how are people finding you? That's a mindset shift people need to make. Okay. And so like just because you're in some syndication program doesn't mean the rest of the world knows about it. If the rest of the world doesn't know about it, you can't give them the opportunity to move forward and change their lives. Okay. That's it. So, is it outreach? Yes. There's lots of different ways to do outreach. I'm giving you an example of, so many people are in these groups, whether it's a school community, whether it's a LinkedIn group, whether you're just on LinkedIn, Instagram. A lot of people like to start there. It's where they're a little bit more comfortable, but it doesn't have to be there. The frameworks I gave you today are like I said, they're universal. So, yes, you are your own best advocate. Okay. Once you get some traction and once you get some other things built and set up, people will end up coming to you. But until you get to that point, you've got to start doing some outreach. Okay. Um, and being seen as an authority. Absolutely. You need to be seen as an authority. If you don't have the confidence in yourself, that is going to come through in your conversations. So you want to do things that put you in a position of being an authority. Okay. Guiding a conversation puts you in a position of authority. Okay. It just does. When you can frame a conversation up, when you can start with, hey, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to learn a little bit more about you, where you're at, where you're trying to be, where you're struggling. Okay. You're automatically in a position of authority. You're putting yourself in a position to drive the conversation. Okay. You don't always have to line it out that way, but that's the truth. So, um, Justin says, I need the PDF form today. I'm painting on a ladder. All right, man. We will get that over. We will get that over to you. We'll get it posted here before too long. So, Vince, I appreciate the feedback. All right, as always, you all have been a fantastic audience. Thank you for showing up. I will keep the group updated on when we will launch. I was really pushing for this come Thursday, but we just got a lot of put into this. We wanted to be right one, and so it takes us another week to get that available. It takes us another week to have these expectations, but our goal is way over promise, or not over promise, way under promise, way over deliver. We want to way over deliver and over providing. And these, I promise you, these are the steps. This is the foundational thing. So, with that, guys, I will chat with you later. Be active in the community. Love it. And have a good weekend and go raise some capital. I'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.